What's going on in this photo? At the first look, this photo doesn't seem too out of the ordinary. It just seems like a normal occurrence with the police responding to a roadside situation. The only things you can really see before taking a deeper look is there are 3 men in the picture, 2 of them being police officers, and 1 of them being a statue of a woman on the ground. However, taking a deeper look at this story, you can take an analysis and make a prediction of what's going on based on the evidence and clues. So let's take a deeper look. The cop over here looks like he has his notebook out, like he's taking notes on a crime scene situation. In the background, you can see a car looking like a model from a few years ago, suggesting this photo is old, probably around the 1970s or 1980s time period. The cop cars also show old-timey uniforms backing up this prediction. One cop right here appears to outrank the other because he has more badges on his uniform, symbolizing more awards and more recognition. The statue does not look broken or damaged. When you look at the man who is covering the statue with a blanket, he appears to be wearing a uniform similar to that of a priest. Knowing how the Catholic Church has a connection with the Reverend Mary, my assumption is that this statue on the ground is a statue of Mary who is being covered up by the priest, almost as a sign of respect or endearment, similar to one gives a corpse when they see it passed. The railing on the side of the road probably means that this photo was taken on the interstate, as is a side of the road situation that the cops are responding to. The trees in the background appear to not have leaves on it, leaving me to speculate this photo was taken sometime in the winter. And if you look closely, the New York patch on the cop's uniform shows that this photo was probably taken somewhere in the outskirts of a rural New York town. From taking a deeper look at the photo and making inferences based on the evidence, this is what I believe is going on in this photo. 2 cops of a different rank are responding to a call from a priest about a vandalism at his Catholic church. The statue of the Virgin Mary was removed from the priest's church, probably in efforts to speak out against the church from angry protesters or as part of an anti-religious cause. The superior ranking cop in the glasses is taking notes on the situation while his partner watches. The priest is in pain and distress, seeing a statue of the Virgin Mary, who is given severe reverence by Catholics, so he covers her with a blanket as a sign of respect, similar to covering a deceased person. The crime takes place during the winter in the outskirts of a rural town in upstate New York sometime in the 1970s. Now it's time to see how accurate my prediction was and take a look at what's really happening in this photo. The official description of this photo from the New York Times website reads, "This week's image comes from the article, Odd, Old Days in Times Square." The original caption reads, "Stolen from a Brooklyn church on Christmas, St. Bernadette was found dumped near the Belt Parkway, 1992. Yeah. Now, the real truth of this photo differs a little bit from my prediction. For example, like I predicted it was the Virgin Mary who was the statue is actually St. Bernadette. However, it was a statue of a woman with high importance in the Catholic Church. While I predicted that this photo took place in rural upstate New York, it actually took place on the Belt Parkway, which is an interstate that neighbors Queens and Brooklyn and connects the 2 areas. I predicted that this photo took place in the 1970s, it actually took place in the 1990s, but I was correct about the seasoning as it was in winter. More specifically, this photo took place on Christmas Day. However, the actual truth of the story still doesn't give a full context of what's going on in the picture. Let's dive a little bit deeper. Belt Parkway, like I said, is a series of interconnected, limited access highways that form a belt around Brooklyn and Queens. The church that got robbed was St. Edmund's Roman Catholic Church, according to an article posted by Deseret News on December 27th of 1991. The statue stolen was a 3-foot-high, 100-pound statue that was surrounded by a chain-link fence behind the rectory at this church, and it was chiseled from its base on Christmas Day. There also was a robbery at a nearby church 2 days earlier where a crown-encrusted jewel was stolen from another church. The person responding to the photo was not the head priest as I predicted, it was actually the associate pastor, responding to a call placed by someone who found this photo while taking a walk on the side of the road. Now, who is St. Bernadette, the woman who is the statue in question? She's a saint from Lourdes, France, in the 1850s, claimed to have visions from the Virgin Mary, encouraging her to build a church in her community. Now, let's learn more about the photographer so we can get even more context in this situation. Andrew Salvage was born in 1949, and he lived in New York since 1975 as he was a photographer for the New York Daily News. An article written by the International Center of Photography described how Salvage would get to these scenes to take his amazing pictures. He would listen to police scanners so he could get the early jump on photography situations, and he loved the thrill of being a New York photographer with a lot of material to work with. His quirky style often made sure his photos weren't included in articles and headlines, as his photos were used to capture his dry sense of humor and irony. A recent trend of photos of his has his models reacting to weird, on-the-nose questions that he'll ask them in the middle of a photo shoot, and here are some examples shown from spch.com. As you can see, he would get to scenes that had important events with a lot of emotion, would capture random quirky photos that appear to have no meaning, and if you see at the bottom, there is a caption of a random photo that this woman has asked. When looking at all this context, a final summary of the meaning, reason, and story behind this photo can be told. The police were reporting to a call of a stolen statue of St. Bernadette from St. Edmund's Roman Catholic Church in Brooklyn, New York. The statue was dumped on the side of the Belt Parkway on Christmas Day of 1992. The statue was found by a citizen walking on the side of the road who contacted the associate priest of this church. This statue was stolen as part of an attempt robbery, where the statue was estimated to be around $5,000 to $10,000. Andrew Salvich was able to get to this crime scene so early because he was listening to police scanners, and his position at the scene allowed him to take a rather funny and quirky photo that makes it seem as if the priest and the cops were responding to the situation as if the statue was a murder victim and treating it as such. Now, this photo could potentially be used as propaganda to show that the church is going to be a victim of hate crimes or that it has enemies, probably from a conservative ideology, as most of their following is for the church. That's why it's important to get all the facts, evidence, and context that show the real story of this photo before making assumptions.